Hey, it's Matt, and I just wanted to give some updates on the Canyon Aquascape. It's been about a month now. The Monte Carlo has grown in really nicely. The Christmas moss has attached itself to the rock, so I don't have to worry about it blowing away from the filter flow. And I feel like it was ready to fill up with water. And once I did fill up the tank with water, I did notice that I still have pretty high nitrite and nitrates. There's a small amount of nitrogen cycle happening within the soil since I had a small water layer within the soil, but I don't think it was enough bacteria to populate the entire tank. I also used some established aquarium water when I filled up the tank. This just helps seed some beneficial bacteria into the tank. You don't want to do this if you have water quality issues in that established tank. So if you have an algae bloom or anything like ick issues, you don't want to use the water from that established tank. But the tank I have was doing great, so I just added the water from there. And after about 2 weeks, my nitrite issue went down, and I did have some brown surface algae that kind of just resolved itself after a couple days. I think there's something a lot of other aquarium channels don't talk about. There's usually just an ugly period for planted tanks that usually lasts a couple weeks once you add water for the first time. So that's why a lot of people do water changes regularly for the first couple days, and also just more general maintenance for the first couple weeks. But then usually after about 2 to 3 weeks, everything evens out, and a lot of the algae issues people associate with ugly tank syndrome usually just goes away with some maintenance in the beginning. And I think that's really important to keep in mind if you're just starting your first planted tank. I think there's a lot of people that start to freak out because they have algae issues in the beginning, but it's important to remember that Aquasoil especially leaches a lot of nitrites and nitrates, and that oftentimes creates a lot of algae. High-end tanks avoid that by injecting CO2 and making their plants grow faster and uptake that better than algae. But if you're not injecting CO2, then oftentimes you'll have a small algae bloom, and after a couple water changes, everything will look good. So the most important thing when using Aquasoil and before you add any livestock to your tank is that you want your nitrites and your ammonia to be 0. And it's actually okay to have some nitrates. Aquasoil is actually designed to leach out some nitrates, and that's because your aquarium plants actually use those nitrates to grow. And because there was excess nitrates, I actually added some floating plants. Floating plants always help keep your water parameters more stable, and I think they just look really nice as well. I am worried about the floating plants kind of getting caught up on the Christmas moss on the top of the rocks, but if they do, that's alright. And I'll actually be adding salvinia to this tank. I think it's way better than something like duckweed, which grows wild, but it also grows fast enough to process a lot of that nitrate and ammonia. Because the water quality looked great and the plants looked really healthy, I thought it was time to add some shrimp to the tank. My plan is to have this be a shrimp only tank. I'll be trying to have just some cherry shrimp in this tank with one Amano Shrimp. It's not a super big tank, so I don't plan to add any fish. And honestly, I've kind of had a hard time breeding cherry shrimp since we've moved to Washington. I actually had a large 10-gallon tank. I had probably like hundreds of cherry shrimp in, but since we've moved to Washington, something about the water quality or the softness of the water has made it much harder for me to keep cherry shrimp alive. I'm hoping with this nano tank I can regulate more of the water parameters and really just dial things in to get these cherry shrimp breeding. And that's pretty much it for the canyon. I'll keep you guys posted on how the shrimp are doing and how the plants keep growing as time goes on. If you want to see more updates, subscribe. If you like the video, give it a like. Thanks for watching. As always, keep scaping. Bye now.